and political education. I first emphasize to you Wanukasoma Farouk of Uganda's ideology, where we say success is created sometimes in times of silence. In times of what? Silence. So you need to be strategic to see that you can be able to get the results. To get the what? The results. So we are going to look into our scenario question about cultural values. Let me read out the question. In one of the Christian seminars organized by a local church in Mbale to empower the youth, Isaac, a guest speaker from the UK, faced humiliation when a group of youth marched out of the seminar hall to protest his speech. The guest speaker had annoyed these youth when he told them to reject many African cultural practices, including circumcision and dancing kadodi, because they were satanic. On returning to UK, this guest speaker told his church members that he had never seen people as hostile as Ugandans that live in Mbale. Our task: write an essay and send it to Isaac, explaining why the youth behaved the way they did altogether. This meant that the youth wanted the guest speaker to respect their what? Their culture. Now I'm saying today, the youth in Mbale marched out of the seminar hall because Isaac was abusing their cultural values. When you talk about cultural values, refers to the beliefs, norms, and attitudes that guide behavior and decisions within a particular society. Cultural values are beliefs about what is good or right. Now, we need to know the benefits or the importance of cultural values. Number one, we are saying cultural values shape our identity and gives us a sense of belonging. In other words, cultural values shape our identity and give us a sense of what? Belonging. In other words, the cultural values tend to indicate where we belong. Where we do what? We belong. Another one, cultural values instill moral principles because different groups of people have morals that guide them. So the cultural values instill moral principles in people. Like in Mbale, they had their morals. Another one, they provide a moral compass for society. In other words, the cultural values provide the moral compass to the society. In other words, the cultural values provide moral compass. They guide the people on how they are supposed to behave. That's why the students marched out of the hall, because they wanted Isaac to respect their cultural values. Another one, cultural values also give people a sense of belonging to something greater than themselves. In other words, people tend to know, to have a sense of belonging, where they do what? They belong. Like the people in Mbale had where they belong. Another one, they preserve traditions and customs. Cultural values preserve traditions and customs, where we say the customs of people are what? Preserved. No one is supposed to abuse the customs of people. This guest speaker was abusing customs of what? People. Yes. Another one, they create a sense of shared identity that bonds communities together. They create a sense of shared identity. In other words, cultural values bring what we call a shared identity, where people have what we call a shared identity. They have their what? Identity that builds them together. Another one, they represent communities' history, traditions, and shared experiences. We are saying they represent communities' history, traditions, and shared experiences. They represent a community's what? History. In other words, cultural values represent a community's history, where people are supposed to know their what? Their history, where they came from, and how to honor and take in times their culture. Another one, they provide guiding principles for how communities should function. They provide guiding principles for how communities should do what? Should function. This means that, in other words, cultural values are very what? Important. Isaac was abusing the cultural values of these people, but for them, they know the rights, the benefits of the cultural values. Then they promote unity by promoting mutual respect, cooperation, and understanding among the different groups. They promote unity. Because all of people have the same culture, they tend to unite together because they knew they belong to one culture anyway. Another one, they empower individuals to take pride in their roots and embrace their uniqueness. They empower individuals to take pride in their what? In their roots. That individuals must take a pride in their roots. So this makes us believe that cultural values are very important. Are very what? Important. So we need to understand the importance of cultural values.